All right, we are live and we're late because of me. Completely my fault. We got Trevor in saying, let's go. And then we got Hexes and Soldiers, Battles of Napoleon, the Eagle, and the Lion. Oh, thank you to Judd. I've got grandkids showed up here early today. It's weird how them being early has somehow made me late, but it's totally my fault. I got sidetracked. I would have lied. I thought it was not like 9:45. So that's how far off my time is. I thought it was 9:45. All right, Judd, what has been going on, first of all, with you? And then, well, before we get to that, this will be the fans' top 5 list of Fantasy Flight games.
There we go. Sorry, I was looking at that Eagle and Lion. I was like, what is that? Wow, Fantasy Flight actually made a Napoleon game. That's interesting. Oh, I've been working that Doom Solitaire system. I want to say about 2011. Aaron and I played Doom right around that time, and keep in mind I was a big avid Doom player in the 90s, and so we're playing this, and it was not fun. The mechanics were solid, but it was terribly one-sided. I mean, there was no chance. I knew early on I can't win this thing. And it's too much to have the monsters under human control, planning, I will block the door. And they don't give you nearly enough ammunition. It's like, you're really going to take on a room full of monsters by punching them? I was like, have they not played the video game? I mean, you got to do a spray and pray to run out of ammunition in that game. If you're judicious and know how to use your ammo right, you're not going to run out. And they don't generally starve you on it. And I was like, man, this stinks. And Aaron said, yeah, I've heard the game's a bit one-sided. You have to play it a lot. And I was like, I didn't like it enough to want to play it a lot. Well, then they made an expansion that supposedly balanced it out. And he had it, and we talked about it, but we always play so much stuff. It's hard to get, except for our favorites, Claustrophobia, War of the Rings, stuff like that. It's hard to get them on the table. But I got more interested, especially when I saw they made a solitaire system. And once you start having it's cooperative, and once you have the Marines, we're all together against the board and they're not under human control, they start acting more like video game monsters. And you can always house rule the game to fix the ammunition problem if you need to, but the game has gorgeous minis. Well, this guy had made this cooperative system because he said his kids always wanted to play the Marines, and no matter what he did, he was always whooping them. And he wanted to join him, so he created the solitaire system, and also the video game had 4 levels from easiest to hardest. They all have that generally, those type of games. And anyways, so he had it at 2 levels, an easier and a harder level. And it's cool. You walk into a room, you see the layout of the room. That's another weird thing, which is also in the video game. Unless you played it, you don't know the layouts of the rooms. Your Marines would know the layout of the base, not necessarily where the monsters are.
Sure.
But anyway, so you lay the board out, but you only reveal the monsters in your room, and it has these numbers in the area, and then you flip cards, and it tells you it's random. Put this monster here, this piece of ammunition here. So it keeps every game fresh. And you can, since it's cooperative, you can play it perfectly solo. So I've been doing that, and it is a blast. The only thing is you have to go on Art Cows and buy a couple of decks of cards he created, print off a sheet. I ran over and got it laminated, but it's really a smooth system. So I'm playing through it right now and having a lot of fun with it.
Now, just off the top of my head, I could see an ambush system where you used cards to randomize a few things. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit different. Because I've thought about doing that as well, just for a little bit of variety. So because there's sometimes when it could be a squad or a low-level squad, or it could just be a sniper. And I've had some thoughts on how do you keep it just a little bit random, or how do you even make it so that it's a card draw that says they're either there, or there. That way you can't fully script your response if you're replaying. But now we're getting into ambush thoughts. Now, is Doom's not even still in print, is it, or is it?
They made a second edition, and it's mechanically different. It's not a new re-updated. From what I understand, it's a different game. It doesn't have all the solitaire stuff in it. I mean, maybe some people out there are familiar with it, but anyway, So yeah, the original, it's not that hard to get. The expansion's a little more pricey, but the base game, shoot, I traded for it. It's not that tough it's really not tough. What's pretty cool is your group of Marines, instead of when you play normally, if you get beat, you pop back in all fresh. Instead, you got your group of Marines and you have a pool of health markers. Instead of each guy having like 10 or whatever, you throw your pool in of like 50. And when you run out, everybody dies as cooperative. So that way, now it does create some unrealistic situations where I had this big bad dude and I just stuck one of them right up in front to block him so everybody else could sit back here and pick him off sniper wise. And he was blocking the door so none of his hordes could get in behind him. And this one guy, he's getting beat up, but since it's the group getting beat up, it's not that bad. And he can only make one attack because he was a melee monster. So you could game stuff, but you know what? The video game had some funny stuff in it too. So yeah, it works. And it's way better than the original game, the way it was written.
That's what ruined Shadows of Brimstone for me, though. I was all in on the Kickstarter, and then I was playing it actually at our gaming spot. A guy had it set up. I said, "You mind if I jump in just to get mechanics down?" And that was his deal. It was like, hey, the heavies up front block the door, and then distance range folks, and ad infinitum. And I was like, ooh. It ended up being very boring, and then I lost all interest because I was real excited. It was supposed to be kind of like a Cthulhu cowboy, and then you're going through ports where you could suddenly be in Japan with samurais or something. But I lost total interest after playing it. That one was a bummer. People love it. That's a flying frog game, but man, I got a coworker. My coworker loves it. I'm just like, man, I can't play it. That and you had to put the minis together. Ugh.
What's the name of it?
Shadows of Brimstone.
I might check that. I generally like Flying Frog.
Oh yeah, I mean it's got all the kind of bling. It looks great. Like I said, it's cowboys, and they've done all kinds of stuff. My buddy loves it, but he loves putting the figs together, the minis together, and he likes painting them. And I don't like any of that. And so, but hey, everybody's got their hobby. The painting videos on my on Bonding with Board Games you're going to hear a granddaughter crying now. You're going to see way more views on that. HAMTAG gets more viewing hours, but not as many clicks. People like to see painting. So let's see. From Academy Games, Uva got a hold of me, and they've got they just sent me, and I did an unboxing of it. It's One Small Step. It's a worker placement race to the moon. So you can cooperative, or you can go team against team with one person playing the Russians and the other folks, the Americans. And that is on my wife. Liz, she loves the moon and any games with the space race to the moon. And she wants to try this out. This looks like a crunchier worker placement, that Euro feel with the moon as the theme, but we'll see. So it looks cool, and Academy Games always has top-notch components. So, but we'll see how that works. I've got that sitting actually upstairs on the kitchen table, but it can't come out with the grandkids here, or there will be pieces missing. So,
Charles, you're not late. We're late, dude.
Yeah, no, we're way late, Charles, man. That was my fault.
We just started.
Yeah, so mea culpa again. We just started because, man, this is one of those days where I'm perpetually late on everything. And I even got up early, and the grandkids got here early, so I don't know what's going on. But I guess we should jump in. Let's see what this was real quick. We'll talk about everybody that's here. What did Subcommandante say here real quick?
I'm with you. I'm with you, man. That's me. That is me to a T right there.
Too fiddly. Eldritch opened it up, whole world, and it built great story through. Yeah, and I love story-based stuff. There were a lot of comments. Go ahead.
I don't hate Arkham, but if I play it, I'm going to play it with Aaron because he knows the game like the back of his hand, so I don't have to think. It's like there's an awful lot of levers in that.
Yeah. Let's see. What is this here? Hi, Bart and Judd and chat people. This will be in the background as sets up a 40K kill team. Wow. Sounds very
cool. Did you remember your first Fantasy Flight game?
Oh, My goodness, that goes
Yours
way
might be
back.
the same as mine.
It might be.
First one I played, Battlestar Galactica,
Ooh.
2009. I think it was
Yeah, I
again.
was at a con and I demoed it at a con at BGG, but I think I might have had Ingenious before that
Okay.
because I loved Reiner Knizia games, and I think I would have to see. I want to say I grabbed Ingenious like in 07 or 08, but I can't remember exactly when it came out. It would have been around the same time. But matter of fact, the guys just hit me up yesterday. They're like, "Hey, we're getting a BSG game together." I'm like, "Nope, dead to me, dead to me." So
I'd play it, but not with them.
yeah, I was like, "Nope."
You and I should play it sometime. Oh, you must be the Cylon because it ain't me. Yeah.
Well, I sold mine. Mine's gone.
Yeah. Next question, Sam T. Have either of you tried Age of Conan? No, I have not. Or Conan. Wow. I told you how much I've been watching Conan O'Brien in my lifetime that I called it that. Yeah, I haven't played it. I don't even know if Aaron has it. I've never heard him talk about it because he's usually my main Fantasy Flight guy. Just curious if it's based on the Schwarzenegger one and Wilt Chamberlain's figures in there. I'd be all down with that because I'm a huge Wilt Chamberlain fan.
Got it. I've got the new Conan stuff from the company in France, and I'm blanking on their name. They just had another Kickstarter for even more stuff, and I love it. I'm blanking, but I haven't done the Fantasy Flight version. But the French one was cool because they said they were going to be. I can't remember the writer for the old comics, but they were going to be true to the style. And they're French, so they did not care about anything risque or even language. And I was like, good. So let's see. Why have you fallen out of love with BSG, Chief?
You spoke of it at length at the end of the last video, but yeah, they basically they broke the game basically. I mean,
see, I don't think it's a break, but they did not. There's one character, and I won't go into it. In their view, that the optimum play is to not be a hidden traitor. That the power is good enough, and they even told me it was like a 15% increase or something. So it's not much, but they'd played 100 and some games, and they're like, if you end up with this Cylon, you come out on your very first turn because it's just better. I think their sabotage was better, and then that was the whole point. Was the sabotage was way better, so you didn't even want to risk getting caught.
Yeah, you know I mean, when I say broke, I don't know if it didn't balance the game, but the mechanics of that game are a bit dry without the hidden part of it.
Yeah,
and when they're revealed, it's like this is a boring game now. I mean, it's all about the table talk. And you're a Cylon. No, you're a Cylon. Well, we all know he's a Cylon.
Mm-hmm. Sam T's right on.
I would house rule to say this Cylon is out of the game. We're not going to play with him. Just throw him in the box. And then it would make it interesting.
Man, they've got all the expansions and everything. They were actually, I think that was part of the problem with you and I too, is they were saying that they hadn't played BSG without the expansions for like 6 months. So when it was the base game for them, I think it was a little bit boring for the 3 that we had or the 2 that we had, because they were like, ooh, no expansions.
Yeah.
So I think they were used to a higher level of complexity at their deal. So yeah, Sam T, you've got 100% right. It's monolith. They've got this cool like monolith. It's like a broken thing. And man, I love that. I was hoping my son would like it a little bit more than I do. I think they call their system the River, because there's things that you purchase with your cubes that allow you to do certain moves or certain weapons. I haven't even played it in a while, but I keep buying stuff for it. Well, go ahead.
Oh, let's throw this out there for people. You can flood the comment sections with what was your first Fantasy Flight game?
Yeah, there you go. Do that before I pull up all the before I pull up the fan list. By the way, the fans lists were really interesting. One guy even
yes,
had,
they were.
Hey, that's my fish was in there. That was cool because I have that too. That might have even been one of my early games. I think I was at a con and they were selling. The box was crushed on one corner, and it was a kid's game, and I thought my kids will love it, so I picked it up. What are you laughing at?
Oh, Trevor.
Oh,
it's like that meme I sent you that had the picture of Mal that said, well, I remember it was mixing up all kinds of sci-fi stuff. Something about use the force or beam me up, Scotty, with a quote from Han Solo, and it showed a picture of Captain Mal.
I saw that. You sent that to me. And I was just perplexed.
Oh, it just mixed things. It's like the picture of Abraham Lincoln that says, "Don't believe everything you read on the internet." It's supposed to be a quote from Abraham Lincoln.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Trevor, you know what? You might be right. That might be my first one because I picked up Citadels very early as well. So very early. Let's see. First FFG, we've got AJ here was Lord of the Rings, the co-op. He loves that game. I had the base. Game. It is. I couldn't get into the original though. That's the co-op. Gotcha.
That's the Knizia game.
Yeah, that's the Knizia. I got that as well. Greg taught me that. Yeah, Greg taught me that at one of our meetups. Let's see. Latora. Only one Star Wars X-Wing. There you go. Beautiful. Looks great on the table. I had to get Slave 1 and the Millennium Falcon for that. Let's see. War of the Ring was my first board game, says Sam T, as an adult, but it was the second edition by Ares. I think Imperial Assault was his first FFG, that or Age of Conan. Very cool.
Hey, I wrote my list of games. If anybody has questions, wants to discuss on the background, something else, give some background. If people want to know anything, share knowledge. I wrote the games I have or have owned one time and what I have played. So I'll rapid fire through these. Battlestar Galactica, Cave Troll, Cold War KGB versus CIA, Doom, first edition, Eldritch, Ingenious, Lord of the Rings, Knizia game, Lord of the Rings Confrontation, Star Wars Empire versus Rebellion, X-Wing, Tide of Iron, War of the Ring, World of Warcraft adventure game, a total dog that Bart almost owned, and I got it at a Dirty Santa white elephant thing. Beat countered Lucky Stars. That game sucks. I have played Star Wars Rebellion, Android Netrunner, Tigris and Euphrates, Rune Wars, Arkham Horror, Legends of Andor, Elder Sign, Call of Cthulhu, Android Netrunner, and Tannhauser. Have not played Fury of Dracula. I've heard it's great. Would love to play Descent. Curious what people's thoughts are on Game of Thrones. I figured I'd binge it someday when it got over and then play the game. A buddy of mine has it. And then it got such a dogged reputation for how bad the last 2 seasons were. I was like, forget about it. And Cosmic Encounter is interesting. Some people love it. Aaron, my buddy who taught me all things Ameritrash, hates that game with a passion. And he and I tend to align very closely on our gaming taste.
Just the randomness of the.
I don't know what he hates. His comment's hilarious, Mr. Marino. Actually, go to his Mr. Marino, like Dan Marino, because he's a Dolphin fan, on BGG. Go to the games he's rated and sort them, and go to the low-rated ones and read them. And do not have a drink near your computer because you'll spit all over it. It's hilarious. But yeah, he dogs on Cosmic Encounter. But I hear some very respected Ameritrashers who love that game. So I don't know what it is. Anyways, anybody wants to discuss, has questions, any of that stuff, I can tell you. So
we'll watch. I'll have you watch the comments too. Let's get over and do some of the fan list. So I'll share screen. I got this ready. We're going to come over to, that is weird. Why didn't that open it up? You know, I was having some, interesting. Let me go to that. Okay, there we go. I was having some issues with, you can see it in there. The data is currently unavailable for some videos. It wasn't this one, but I was trying to look at another one too at one point. So that's why you're seeing that up above. So we got Kabuki Kid 6 days ago. Now, I'm just throwing this out because she was answering the question. I have Chaos in the Old World and like what is it? It's the Serpents expansion or something, or I can't remember. And so she said that was the name of the board game that has the stretched human skin on it. And it's an Eric Lang game. So we'll give her props for knowing that. I think some people let us know in the show too. Tom D, here's number 5. Hey, that's my fish. So there's the one where I picked up at a damaged box thing, and my kids love that. And whenever I've got nephews, nieces over, or probably pretty soon these grandkids, they'll like it as well. Space Hulk, Death Angel, 3 X-Wing, 2 Warhammer Quest adventure card game, and one Mansions of Madness second edition. And that's the one that's super fast setup and has the app, and I love that as well. Go ahead.
Space Hulk, I'm curious about that. The card game. I'm curious how that, if anybody knows the story, because Space Hulk was put out by Games Workshop. And I don't know if you know their reputation about their lawyers and Space Marines and how they patented the word, even though the word's been around in games long ago. And they actively, get lawyerish about this stuff. So I was curious. I go, they've had to work out something, because you would think Space Hulk or the card game, whatever, that they have to own the rights to that. And I was kind of surprised that Games Workshop didn't put it out. So I don't know if there's some agreement there, if anybody knows the backstory.
All right. Comment if you see that coming up in the comments. Han, and I don't know if it's Han NG, he says it at minute 25:05, henceforth you shall be known as Darth Growl. That's got to be you. When and that was when in Rebellion you were talking about where you were able to turn Chewie to the dark side.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I picked this up from a buddy. Whenever we'd go to the movies, I can't stand people that talk at the movies, but when the screen goes dark right before the main feature, there's that instant where just the whole theater's dark. All that out of Chewie growl. And my wife and I went to see the Will Smith Muhammad Ali movie one time, and there was like 5 people in the whole auditorium, and I let one out, and it was so bad because it sounded like I was sick, like somebody was dying. I didn't really get that growl rolling part in the back of your throat. Like,
oh, you're killing me. Now they've got the theaters closed down, but I'm telling you, as soon as they reopen them because of a vaccine or whatever, I'm going to have to go see maybe go see Top Gun 2 with you or something, so I can just experience the Wookiee growl. That is funny. We've got David Brown, so we'll go in his order that he has. Number 1, A Game of Thrones, the board game, second edition. 2, Mansions of Madness, second edition. You'll see that trend with his list. Eldritch Horror, Mission Red Planet, second edition. I actually like it. Was not a Fantasy Flight game, but the first edition I liked a lot better than the Fantasy Flight one. 5, Battlestar Galactica, but only when played with a selection of the expansion materials. This sounds like my friends.
Maybe it is.
Yeah, specifically, it could be the side where the Cylon fleet builds up before boom invasion time. David Brown. Let's see. A list I can actually contribute to. He says with some degree of knowledge. Sorry, go ahead.
A couple of comments that yes, Fantasy Flight had the license for non-miniature games for Games Workshop IP until a few years ago. And another says FFG licensed Warhammer 40K in fantasy setting from Games Workshop. So anyways,
yep.
I figured there had to be, because man, Games Workshop's pretty litigious about their games.
Perfect word. That's the word you were searching for earlier, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect word. So we've got Uva Beck, who's awesome, by the way. When I do my B-17 Patreon flights, he always helps me out with all my nose art and tracking how long my airplane B-17 HAMTAG's been alive. By the way, anybody wants to join in on the crew, as I lose people, I pull Patreon supporters onto the actual crew, and they fly with me on the HAMTAG. Let's see, so he says, not really all war games, nor does it need to be, nor was ours, but here goes. Anywho, 5, Red November, Dwarves playing at James Cameron. I have that too. It's a fun game. 4, Star Wars Rebellion, great. 3, Tide of Iron, and all the expansions. 2, Elder Sign Omens, Arkham Horror Light. And number 1, numero uno, Battlestar Galactica. He has an honorable mentions, which is Eldritch Horror. Runebound second edition. I have Runebound. It's never, second edition even, it's never come out of the shrink, and I keep hearing good things. But then I heard it was kind of light, or somebody even told me it was Monopoly-ish, and I didn't understand that. And then I think other things came. Do you know anything about Runebound or second edition Runebound?
No, I've played Rune Wars, but no.
Okay.
Is that the Martin Wallace one?
No, I don't think. Well, I don't know. Maybe it is. And then they had a
Keep
new
going.
edition.
I'll type it up. I got BGG up.
Okay. Trevor Just. Wow, we know who he is. He even gets a little, I call it the lunchbox, but it's actually a red circle around YouTube that says he's been a subscriber for 5 years. Wow, that is awesome, Trevor. 5, StarCraft, the board game. System became Forbidden Stars. 4, Colossal Arena. I have that as well. That's his most played FF game. Lord of the Rings, Journeys in Middle Earth, role-playing board game goodness. 2 was Star Wars Outer Rim. Need a Mandalorian expansion. Wow, that would be awesome. I've got that. Have not played yet. Oh, come now. Let me click and open. There we go. Star Wars Rebellion Pinnacle Star Wars game. Honorable mentions: Marvel Heroes, Dust, Tannhauser, Middle Earth, Game of Thrones. Did you pull anything up?
Yeah. There's also another comment from Chris Taylor. Also, but yeah, it is a Martin Wallace. I'd be curious to try that out now. I tend to like Wallace's. Well, I'm not a big fan of his Euros, but I tend to like his war games. So
maybe we'll try that.
Yeah. I forgot. You had one of the games I was going to mention something about, but I can't remember which one it was now.
What, one of the ones he said there was Colossal, StarCraft?
No,
Lord of the Rings, Outer Rim with the Mandalorian expansion that he's calling for.
I must have lost my thought. I don't remember what it was.
My fault.
Tech to get old.
Yeah, it'll pop in. Nano Rider 426. Number 5 is World of Warcraft, the board game. 4, Tannhauser. 3, Tide of Iron. 2, The Lord of the Rings 2000 edition. Here I come with not.
That's the Knizia, the cooperative game.
Yes, Twilight Imperium 3rd edition. Yes, I like the 3rd edition. I haven't played the 4th, so I can't really judge. Supposedly,
is that the game with the lion on the cover?
It is. It's a lion race. And then P.S. Judd, ? Space Hulk is from Games Workshop. I guess you mean the card game Death Angel.
Oh, I don't know what that is. I made a reference to Space Hulk, but I think I put it in context. I was talking about dungeon crawlers with miniature. Probably talking about Doom, because I know all too well about them, because I read on BGG about the whole Space Marine fiasco, and it cracked me up because I have old war games from the 70s that talked about Space Marines. I'm like, how did they get a whatchamacallit on that?
Right. And I think here's your follow-up comment where you explain that.
Yeah.
And so
I got a lunchbox. I guess I do. I created that.
Yep. Yeah, you got a lunchbox. I call it
hilarious because I'm not a very active YouTuber. It's just that I created an account, Vassal Loser, for that's actually my email, because that's what I send Vassal logs back and forth to people with.
There you go. You subscribed 2 years ago. Yeah, I get it. I know it's like the YouTube symbol, but to me, it always looks like, I call it the red circle lunchbox.
Huh.
So I call it the lunchbox. I'm like, who's got their lunch? Let's see. Persimic.
Man, we started late too, so don't worry. He can comment.
Oh, there you go. FFG is his choice for thematic games. That's a good choice. They have so many IPs. Very true. 5, BSG says, we played the core game to death. Really like it in our small group, 3 players. 4, Elder Sign. Very interesting dice checker with a lot of innovative ideas. Wish there were more types of dice. 3, Star Wars Imperial Assault, a very good dungeon crawl with very thematic missions, although campaign was a bit hard to manage at the end with 2 players. 2, Eldritch Horror, good map of the world game, Indiana Jones with Cthulhu. Man, you guys are making me want to go buy that for sure. And Star Wars Rebellion makes you make your own Star Wars in a box. That is 100% true. Great comments, Bazek. Hopefully I'm saying it correct. Any comments that you need to get to?
Don't think so.
Okay. I just want to make sure we give them a fair shot in there. Indigo Dragon. He's also a lunch boxer. What's he got there? 4 years. FFG's Battle Lore 2E was based on the Runeterra fantasy world that they have used in their other games, like Descent, Runebound, and Rune Wars. So that was kind of cool. And then Thomas says, do you mean Terranoth? I thought that was the fantasy medium CTP used for those games. All above my head there. I did not know those names, but it was cool insight. And why does it keep giving me that? There we go. So here's Indigo's list. Is 5 FFGs. 1, Twilight Imperium, 4th edition. That's his best. Number 2, Battlestar Galactica. 3, Fury of Dracula, 3rd edition. 4, Star Wars Rebellion. 5, Game of Thrones, the board game, 2nd edition. A lot of 1st and 2nd edition stuff.
Yeah, there's like 3 on there. That I mentioned. Those are the ones some of the ones I'd like to try. But yeah, Descent. My understanding is Descent took the Doom system and it was the next evolution in the system, and then Star Wars Imperial Assault also follows that line. And it's like each game they perfected it more and more. Love to try Descent, but Aaron has it, but it's just never hit the table for the two of us. And it's one of those. If he has it, I don't need to buy it because he's probably the guy that played with me. Unless they made a great solitaire system for it.
Got it. Robert Carroll, top Fantasy Flight games: Lord of the Rings Confrontation, 5, 4 Cosmic Encounter, 3 Star Wars Rebellion, 2 Eldritch Horror, 1 Android Netrunner. So he's an Android Netrunner guy.
Have you played that?
I have not. I bought it. I thought maybe I thought Liz and I would like it. And then I started looking into it. And I think I watched a video on it, and it just stayed in shrink.
It's a weird game. If you watched it, it doesn't sound fun, but it's really fun to play. I mean, I thought it was. Aaron had that. I mean, I think he still does. And it's like you're a corporation in the future,
and the other one's
trying to protect secrets behind firewalls. And these hackers, it's like they hook into their mind with a neural net and start trying to hack through your systems and steal your secrets. And sometimes they're like bogus, fake secrets, like psych, and you're supposed to try to steal so many points of secrets or something. And it sounds not fun, but it really is. But what's crazy, I mentioned this about Fantasy Flight has this like power creep thing going on in a lot of their games. And when Aaron got that thing was the hotness for us. We played that like 3 or 4 times in a row, which that's really weird for us because usually we're bouncing all over the place with the Ameritrash and War Games. And then he pulled out a corporation. We took turns playing corporation, and I had it, and this thing was way overpowered. And he stood no prayer. And it's like, wow, this really kind of sucked. And I said, I just put those guys in the box and never play with them again. And I don't know, it's like it soiled it, and we have never played that game again. And I think if you asked me, he'd say, yeah, it's a fun game. It's just one of those kind of kills your mood. You want to play it? Yeah, let's play this instead. It's not that it's a bad game. It lost all of its fun factor. Wow, cool, new kid on the block thing. And I don't know. It was just, but it was we knew how to play the game well enough to know this thing was a really bad corporation to create, because it's fun that you can mix and match and try different powers. But it was not like, I forget the game where you're like that. It's a board game and you got cards and walls and
that did not narrow it down for me.
Shucks. Yeah, you end up using casting points and bring your guys on the board, and it's cards. And anyways, but that was a cool game, and the powers were pretty well balanced.
That's from Plat Hat Games, Corey's shoot. Because instead of miniatures, it used cards for your army, right?
Yeah, and you had walls, also wall cards. You'd hide your like boss guy behind the wall or something. Yeah. And Aaron and I play the heck out of that game, and he has so many different factions. You had goblins and all that stuff. Anyways, whatever that game is called, it's just Summoner Wars. Thank you, Trevor.
That's it.
Like, that's what I thought Android Netrunner was going to be, a type of Summoner Wars thing where you can mix and match all this. But boy, we hit that roadblock and kind of killed it. Something I was going to mention, I remember what that thought was earlier. Corey, and I can't say his last name. It's like Kinesia or something. He's the dude behind a lot of the Fantasy Flight games.
Right. He
either creates them or his name is one of the many who makes it. Rune Wars, Tide of Iron, whole bunch of it. I saw an announcement that he's like art director of another company. It sounds like he almost formed his own company, and they were going to release their first game, but then COVID happened, so they're going to release it next year. I don't know if anybody knows about that. I just saw that because he's one of my favorite designers because he's so good. The reason why FFG's IPs are so good, a lot of times you look at it, his name's on those games.
I agree, 100%.
Knitska, thank you.
How do you say it again?
It says Knitska. I don't know if the accent is on the middle syllable or not. That's a joke. But anyways,
thank you for
yeah, it's a really talented. I'm so curious to see what will happen with his company and also what will happen in Fantasy Flight.
Very cool. So real quick, Robert Carroll, I'm with you on Fantasy Flight. Well, being sold to Asmodee may be the reason there's suddenly some folks leaving. So, but who knows? They've been with Asmodee for a while. Top Fantasy Flight War Games was 5 Tide of Iron. 4, this is where I think I threw him off because I talked about Memoir 44. Obviously, that's Days of Wonder, and they did Battle Lore, but they did not do anything for Fantasy Flight. That stayed with Days of Wonder. 3, War of the Ring. 2, Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition. 1, Game of Thrones 2nd Edition. Dave Doge, I think I'm saying it right. Again, with the, what'd you call it? A solibile?
What?
Not that I can't say his name. I'm not sure if it's Doge.
Instead of saying I put the accent on the wrong syllable, I said I put the accent on the wrong syllable.
Yes. I couldn't do your humor. I just couldn't hit it. Sorry. 1, Star Wars Rebellion. 2, Star Wars Armada. He's a Star Wars fan. 3, A Game of Thrones, the board game. 4, Mansions of Madness, 2nd Edition. 3, Runebound, 3rd Edition. Let's see. Kabuki Kid was in there with a comment under that one. Nathaniel Robinson, 5, Star Wars Imperial Assault. 4, Forbidden Stars. That's the first time I think, well, maybe someone else had it. 3, Tide of Iron, Stalingrad is specific to that. That was, of course, published by 1A, what is this? Conviscerated of the new and now sold by FFG. They took it back. Maybe even confiscated. I don't know. This should have been a standalone expansion to Tide of Iron. Great modeling of urban combat. 2, Samurai by Knizia. I have that. I just picked that up. I'm trying to round out some Knizia games. Star Wars Armada was his number 1. Sam T. Eldritch Horror was number 5. 4, Imperial Assault. 3, Rebellion. 2, Age of Conan. Extremely underrated in his opinion. And number 1 was War of the Rings, since it counts and is my favorite and first hobby board game. Very cool. Very cool.
You know, I'm noticing a lot more Eldritch than Arkham. I thought Arkham was the more popular game, but not according to what I've been seeing so far. I thought it was just me. I really love Eldritch. So
I know.
Good to know I'm not alone.
I'm definitely being convinced to give it a shot. You and I need to try that. Rick Godot.
Wait for my Belichick expansion.
Yes, I need to see that. If you do that, we will film it. We'll have to give that. That should be something we like document your progress as you go. Rick Godot, number 5, Star Wars Rebellion. May go up since I've only played it a couple of times, but I like what I've seen. 4, Civilization New Dawn, a simple Civ game that you can play in an evening. Nice intro to the genre of the mechanisms. In it, I really like the focus row technique. Wow, got me interested. Tribune, nice Roman theming and a good Euro to boot. Star Wars Armada, much prefer the big ship combat to X-Wing system. It really feels like big ships. Number 1.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you know.
Finish your list out. Sorry, I couldn't see what I thought you was done.
Sorry. Number 1's Twilight Imperium 3rd or 4th edition, Space Conquest and Diplomacy at its epicness. He has honorable mentions, but why don't you go ahead with your comment?
The Armada system, I think Task Force, they made one for Starfleet battles, if I'm not wrong. So I'm wondering if you can combine ships from Star Trek and Star Wars with that system.
I bet you someone will tell you in the comments, because I know what you're talking about. I've seen both, because you can even battle a big Borg cube in there. As honorable mentions, Dust, an Axis and Allies Risk clone that is very interesting with a card-driven activation. Battlestar Galactica, if played with the trader, not revealing early. See, I either knows or somebody did that with him. Makes for a great experience. Ingenious is dominoes done as only Knizia can do. I love that sentence. Matt Curiosities, 5 Tide of Iron, 4 Mansions of Madness have first edition, wants to upgrade to the second. Second was just so much quicker to get on the table, and you were getting surprised by the app. I would have my iPad out, and it was fun. 3 Ingenious, 2 Arkham Horror with expansions, extra investigators, play aids when time is not limited. You aren't lying there. 4 hours, and I felt like I wasn't doing much. 1 Eldritch Horror when time is limited. My time is always limited.
Eldritch is a fairly fast playing game. I mean, you do it right, it's maybe 2.5 hours. I never can tell based on Aaron and I, because we always take about twice as long as the game box says. Part of which, a third of it's him griping about Belichick and how he either catches every break or cheats. Guy with a name like Mr. Marino, you can guess who his favorite football team is, and therefore why he hates the Patriots so much.
There you go. We got Kabuki Kid. She's got a lunchbox. She's been a fan or a subscriber for 5 years. Number 5, Arkham Horror 2E. I own all but 1 expansion. She says, I love Eldritch too, but I prefer this game. 4, Star Wars Outer Rim. I want my Mandalorian expansion. 3, Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I played 3 more, but I do think I prefer 4. Interesting. Cosmic Encounter, there we go, with all the trimming. She wants it all in there. All the different aliens. Star Wars Rebellion, the only game I purchased a third-party insert for. Very cool. Setup is a snap. Bought extra dice too. Cool. I would have had War of the Ring as number 1 or 2, but I have the Ares 2nd edition, anniversary edition, actually. So I am only counting actual FFG versions of games that she owns. Honorable mentions, Legacy of Dragonholt. I don't know that one. Game of Thrones, BSG, Lord of the Rings Confrontation, Space Hulk, Death Angel, Star Wars Armada, Battle of Westeros, also it was also a CNC game, right? That one kind of was up and gone pretty quick, if I remember right. Fury of Dracula, 3rd edition, Eldritch Horror, Nexus Ops. Nexus Ops is brilliant. And Merchant of Venus, when they did their reprint. But I play with the original rules, which are included, which is nice.
Wow, Trevor, you lucky dog.
What happened?
He has the collector's edition of War of the Ring. I don't know if you've heard of that. That game goes for some coin.
Yeah, I've heard of
it. Alan, Lynn, A-L-I-N, he says, ask me how many expansions do I play Eldritch with? I only have 1, Forsaken Lore. I was afraid Eldritch would end up doing what Arkham did and become bloated with expansions. I had the one with the airplane on the cover, and I think it takes place like in Antarctica or something. It's really cold. I had it. I traded. It was pretty interesting. I mean, it's a great trade for me. I think the guy who made it, who traded with me, was like an artist on it. So he had a bunch of free copies. So he's pretty generous with his trade, because I did Creature That Ate Sheboygan and Chainsaw Warrior for Eldritch Horror in this expansion.
I just like the word Sheboygan.
Yeah.
I want to live there.
Yeah, Mountains of Madness. And Aaron had told him, it's funny what he said, it's kind of an odd expansion because you're always challenged with frostbite, but you almost have to keep somebody down there all the time. I didn't really know what that meant. And I got the impression it wasn't that fun compared to the others. So I packaged up in a big trade with Old Board Game Co. and just the Mountains of Madness, because it was still in shrink, so it had crazy value for what I was getting. And then Aaron's like, what? You traded it? I would have traded with you. And I was like, you said it sucked. I didn't say it sucked. I was like, well, and he goes, well, all that I said is true, but it's still great. So I was like, oh, well. Forsaken Lore was pretty cool because it introduced a new monster, which is kind of my Belichick idea, and all the stuff that goes with him. But then it also, I said there's like 5, I think it's 5 cards. It's like the monster's agenda. You have to, and you deal 3 of them out randomly or something. No, I think there's 4. And you deal 3 of them out randomly, so you don't know which one's in or out. Well, it adds more cards to the existing monsters, so it adds more variety, so you don't know. So it took your existing game and really upped it, and then threw another monster. And so it's a pretty simple expansion without bloating it full of rules. So I have that, and that's kind of what I stuck with.
You've got to do this Belichick expansion, and we'll document it.
Yes.
I think that would
Oh,
be
come on, Trevor. You know you want to trade me War of the Ring for BSG. You really do. Yeah. One of my kids asked me one time what I'd do if I won the lottery, and I was like, I don't know. There's really not much I'm looking for, you know. You're not getting a fancy car now. I'm fine with my car. Finally, I go, I'd get War of the Ring limited edition. I'd get a copy for me and Aaron.
There you go. Perfect. I agree with you. I don't have that many extravagant wants myself.
Yeah.
All right. Thomas Romanelli. I love the name. 1, Twilight Imperium, currently the 4th edition, and a massive expansion called Prophecy of Kings is on the way in November. Sounds cool. 2, Star Wars Rebellion. Relive your own version of, what is it? Machete Star Wars, where Leia turns to the dark side and the Death Star blows up Dagobah, so Yoda cannot teach any new Jedi. However, you really need to purchase Rise of the Empire expansion to fix the combat system of the base game.
You know, I've heard that some people don't like the combat of the base game, and I've heard the expansion's great, and then I've heard some people say I'm fine with the combat system in the base game. So I guess it's not something for everybody.
I like that. I love options. Forbidden Stars, the best incarnation of Warhammer 40K in board game form, until it was canceled when FFG and GW Games Workshop decided to divorce. The expansion was stillborn. Wow, a lot of alliteration there.
Every time you say Forbidden Stars, I keep thinking of Chris Taylor's game. I was like, what is that? That's Imperial Stars. Okay. So I keep thinking he's not with FFG, he's with VPG. Okay.
Battle Lore 2nd edition. If you're familiar with the Command and Color system, yes, we are, called the Borg system, I think. This was a solid fantasy version that had tons of replay value because of modular map pieces that came with the base game. Then 5, Fortress America. They did the reprint of that. Love all the units that spread across the map of a besieged USA.
You're familiar with that Klingon reference?
Oh,
you can't see me.
No.
The one where Worf lost his honor and they all crossed their arms and turned their back to him.
Oh, yeah.
That's my attitude towards Fantasy Flight's take. They took Kansas City off the map, hacked me off. I just don't never play the game.
Yes, you were mad about that. You were very angry. What'd they put on there? They put like Oklahoma City on instead or something?
I don't know. Probably somebody who makes inferior barbecue to Kansas City. Probably that's the jealousy.
That is funny. Let's see.
I know who it was. It was a New York Mets fan. They're still bitter about that World Series.
Let's see. We've got some cross chat.
They're still the best.
You and Kabuki Kid were chatting back and forth here. I'm trying to get to some lists rather than just conversation. Talking about formerly Z-Man Sandwich and Casey Joe's Barbecue. All right, let's see. Here we go. Tom Gustafsson. Number 1, Star Wars Imperial Assault. Best bang for your buck with 3 ways to play: campaign, skirmish, or solo with the app. Lord of the Rings, the card game, deck construction goodness for all retired Magic players, for us retired Magic players. Star Wars Rebellion, it's the original trilogy in a box. P.S. There is a fan-made solo variant. Blue Moon City, I want to get this. I missed out on this. It's a Knizia game, and it's just supposed to be phenomenal. All lists must have a Reiner Knizia game. Great solo puzzler. That sounds interesting. 5, Fallout. Shooting bloat flies and chewing bubble gum. Don't play competitive, solo or co-op only. And then note, FFG game with skin board is Chaos in the Old World, which is a Warhammer license. So another assist to my failing memory. Yeah.
Question for you, for everybody. Back in the 90s, when I was playing Wolfenstein 3D and Doom and stuff like that on the PC, There was a game, and I swear it was called Civilization, and it was like a real time. And you start, I don't know, Stone Age or something, or you started way back. I wasn't really big into the game,
Yeah.
but you would build up offense, you'd build up defense, you'd get technology, and I think the goal was like get to the moon or something ultimately. But you'd send warriors off to fight other kingdoms, and if you fell asleep at the wheel or something, you'd find out these other guys, you weren't upgrading your stuff, and they were upgrading theirs because it was all real time.
I had that. But I
Is
thought
that
there was Civ games, but I think you're talking about, I think it was like an Age of Empires or something.
okay? I thought it was called Civilization, but I was going to say, is this Sid Meier's Civilizations game? Is that what that is? A board game version of that? Because I've heard about this for years, and I've always wondered if it's because Fantasy Flight does so many like Doom and stuff like that. I was curious if they'd made a board game
Well,
of that.
there's a whole version of Civ games as well, but I may be wrong in the name. I thought it was Age of Empires because you could get on and play it. I played 2-on-2, and boy, that ruined it for me. The guy that was my teammate was so good. Started because you could like text chat each other. And he kept saying, "What are you doing? You're like a generation behind. Why aren't you doing this right?" And I was like, "What?" Because I thought I knew it, but he was a min maxer, and all of a sudden he takes out the opponent and he says, "Well, this is boring. I'm going to sack you so I can run your stuff better and then go get the other guy," which he proceeded to do. And I was like, that game was then dirty to me. I never wanted to play it again.
Yeah, Star Trek made something like that too. They made a Star Trek version where you could take different empires, I guess, and I never really got into that. But
did anybody say the name of it? Since I can't,
there's a couple of comments. FFG has done 2 Civilization board games, and then Civ 1 came out in '91.
But you're talking about a computer
because I was playing Doom. I was playing Wolfenstein 3D back in '93.
Yeah, and there was a computer. It was their real-time strategy, their RTS, and I wanted to say it's Age of Empires, but I can't remember. But yeah, you slowly were exploring your area, and you had to feed your people, and then you could mod up and do all this kind of stuff. And
Trevor wants to know if the guy who ruined that game is the same guy who ruined BSG. I don't think so.
Well, the one I was playing was not. It was a computer game, and I was online. So. Yeah. All right, we're going to stop, and I've hit the bottom of my list. Oh, wait, maybe I didn't. Oh, shoot. Am I still there with you, or did I think
I'm seeing both of us now.
Yeah, I dropped it. Shoot, there was a couple more people in there. Let me just read them off, even though you're there, because I just saw it. My computer slowed down, and now I see it. So I'll go real quick. The Solo Wargamer show was 1, Tide of Iron, 2, Battlestar Galactica, 3, War of the Ring, 4, Star Wars X-Wing, 5, Star Wars Rebellion, the Kessler Foundation, 5, Dust, 4, Fallout Shelter. He says 3, Through the Desert, awesome game actually. 2, Hey, That's My Fish, 1, Tannhauser, and Bjorn Frank, who was on my B-17. I think he still is. Star Wars Rebellion, Game of Thrones number 2, 3, Keyforge, good game system there. 4, Elder Sign, 5, Android Netrunner, and 2 more. Cliff Chagrin, 5, Eldritch Horror, 4, Twilight Imperium, 3, Mansions of Madness, 2, Descent, 1, Battlestar Galactica, and Forest Coal, the last one, 5, Tide of Iron, 4, Nexus Op, 3, Tigris and Euphrates. Good game, Knizia game. Everybody loves it. I could not love it. I just did not like it. I know. 2 Black Gold, 1 Fortress America. And now I'm coming back.
Wow, I thought the only reason Tigris didn't make your list is because I thought he doesn't have the Fantasy Flight version.
I did not like it. I did not like it. And I even tried it a second time. The whole 2-season thing, or the 2 whatever, it just didn't click for me. And I know it's supposed to be one of his best. And I just was like, ugh, I didn't like it. And played it with Marshall Phillips, who was our game lead guy for a long time, loves it.
Marshall, yeah, I traded for it, then asked him because I knew he's a teacher, and he is a phenomenal teacher. He is for Euros what Greg is for war games. And if you never learned a game from Greg, I'd highly recommend it if you could, because he's really good. But yeah, I'd asked Marshall about teaching it to me, and he and August, we all played it. And yeah, I got whomped, but I expected to. If I beat Marshall in the first game, the game's broken. um, but had a lot of fun. But I ended up getting on the app and played the app, and then I ended up noticing, well, I don't play this in a group, so I traded my copy because I had the app, and it was just fine.
Mm-hmm. So again, for Age of Empires, I was talking about a digital real-time strategy game. I have the board game Age of Empires. I know it's not Fantasy Flight. It's awesome. They had the license, is what I remember. You send monks over to the New World as one of your options, and it's a great worker placement game. It's one of my favorites. I love it. We used to play it all the time. But I know that's the board game. Whoops.
Yeah, the Elder Sign, somebody put that up there. I don't know. Have you ever played it? It's like Arkham Horror, the dice game.
I have not.
Yeah, it's one of those similar. You have to roll a combination to pass this challenge. You have to roll this combination with. You have to have at least this, and this out of your 7 dice. Or I don't remember how many, but it's one of those type of games. Star Trek made one, 5-year mission, similar idea. But yeah, at the time I had played Arkham, and I mentioned that story about how we each had 2 characters. Everybody starts with a blessing. First turn we roll 4 different dice, so it wasn't bad die rolling where you didn't shake it. 1, 1, 1. 3 of us lost our blessing. All the bad stuff happened. I had a character who couldn't go inside and couldn't go outside. Bad stuff happened. Another dude is pinned in down an alleyway with only one way out, with all these super powerful monsters blocking it that never moved, and it was just a horrific experience. I've played Arkham since and had a better experience. Well, right after that, we played A Touch of Evil. Aaron and I and a third guy joined us, and the same thing. I mean, it'd be like roll 7 dice, you need at least 1 success. Fail, like 50% on each dice. And I was like, what is it? Why am I so cursed in these games? And it was epic, the amount of fail I had going on. And I was telling Rob about this back when I was visiting back home, and he taught me Elder Sign, and we'd have these real easy successes, and I'd fail them. And he goes, what is it with you, man? And we were getting clobbered, and then suddenly, mid-game, bam, I got hot with the dice, just hit everything. It's almost like, I don't know, Rain Man or something, or just where you just start clicking. But something happened. We ended up winning, and then I go back and play the Touch of Evil, and we win, and I broke my curse. I told Rob, I guess I just had to get it out of my system.
Well, yeah, you
still never won Arkham.
You'd probably gone a little bit insane is what had happened, and you finally just got crusty.
Yeah. Have you considered the curse may not be in the games, Trevor? Yeah, what's funny is, Aaron, we joke about it, but doggone, it's true. Every time we play one of the war game or something, he starts off hot on the first couple of turns, and then his luck goes sour with the dice. And it's epic. His amount of, the fail this guy has with dice, and it's like, dude, you're terrible. And but then when he goes to BGG Con and he plays Rusty, if you guys know him, Rusty, they always play Ramo in the Desert. Rusty's brilliant at that game, but Aaron can stay in there because Rusty is such a bad, epic dice thrower. Then he and I played Hold Fast Russia, and Aaron comes by, and I was like, Aaron, you're right. This dude really can't roll dice. He's terrible. And it's like, this is a random thing. Why is it? I don't know. Maybe it's just because you notice when the guys. But we played, somebody mentioned it, the game with all the Legos that goes for an arm and a leg. The Lego type of system with the miniatures out of print goes for an arm and a leg. Heroescape.
God.
Yeah, I had 14 dice. And I needed 1 success, and I whiffed with 14 dice. That was like the greatest fail ever in anything. But that was just a fluke. Ha, ha, ha. I don't know. But Aaron jokes about how bad he is. When we play co-ops, he'll even mention, well, he'll say, if it's somebody makes a roll, he'll hand it to me and say, you roll them. You know how I am. Yeah, it might be the hat. Yeah, it is. Hey, winners, man, baby.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Anybody else got anything? We're coming up on an hour. Again, sorry, it was completely my fault. Had Judd not called me, because I don't ever have messaging turned on, so I just look at messages, I would have swore, like I said, it was still like 9:45 or something. I didn't even think we were coming up close. and then boom, and he called. And kind of when he called, I had a touch of panic, and then I was like, "Oh my God, look at the time." Let's see.
He's referring to the Boston Red Sox, not Sox. Man, I hate those guys.
There's Heroescape. No, very cool. So again, we've got. Let's just do a little bit of a roll call. Trevor Just is still in here. He always gets in early as well. We've got Chris Taylor's in. Indigo Dragon. We've
Chris, dude. Man, I'm blanking his Astra Titanus. Come on, man. We need to get that reprinted with somebody. Come on.
Gareth Graham.
People tell me I really want to get that copy of that game. So
very cool. Let's see what we got. Subcommandante 73, who by the way had Chainsaw Warrior. That takes him back. That's just a cool name.
That's probably the greatest name of a game ever.
It is. I agree. We got Alan Dendaranu. Sorry if I got that wrong. Mountains of Madness. I think. What did I say? Mountains of Madness. It should be Mansions. If I said
no. He's talking about when it's the expansion to Eldritch Horror. That's the one where you get stuck in Antarctica and
gotcha.
Frostbite.
Gotcha. Yeah. Sorry, that's the problem. I should just be doing a roll call, not reading their comments. So Alan's there. There's Trevor. Dave Doge.
Dog. He put a comment in there. It's pronounced Dave Dog.
Oh, it is Dog. Yeah, it's Dave Dog. Pronounced that way. Okay, I was trying to be all French. Doge. Dave Dog. Got it. I even had a neighbor, a gal named Karen. Her last name was Doogie, and it's close to how, but it had an H in it. So I was even wondering if it was Doogie, but sorry. All right. Let's see. There's Alan and Trevor again. There's Matt. There's Chris. There's Dave, Nathaniel Robinson. And we'll go up a little further because Tony Holton is there. Sam T, Charles Latora, AJ 800. You know what? On Netflix, they got this great show. What is it called? Game Over or something? It's like it's the history of how games started with Space Invaders, and then they moved on to Pac-Man, and then into Sega. They spend a lot of time over in Japan. Have you seen that?
Nope.
It's really good. Liz and I have been watching it. Enrique Romero is in. Ron Nicholson, he said checking in, so I don't know if he's still here, and that's good. Anything else going on, Judd? I mean, before we go.
Got a new comment at the bottom, Jerry Ferraro's saying,
hold on.
Calling in.
Got it. Let me come all the way down. Oh, yeah. Jerry Ferraro. Hello, gentlemen.
Next week, Columbia games, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Do me one favor. I think let's take a week off. I've got to catch up on some stuff because some people have seen I've had a lot of unboxings coming out. And I had some people know him as Bongo Gorilla is what I call him. He's loving my fantasy or my B-17 Avalon Hill playthroughs, but he picked up Target for today. So he said, do you mind if I buy a copy? Because I was not going to buy one, and I send it to you. And I said, sure. And I said, can I use your name? His real name's Gary. And I'll do an unboxing of this as well. So if you don't mind, we will take 1 week off. And then we are going to do Columbia games. The other reason I need to do that is I think I boxed a bunch of my Columbia games up. I was thinking, let's just box them. I wasn't ready to sell them yet, but I needed some shelf space, and I've got to find them. I thought I knew where they were. I thought they were in a cubby hole I had over here, but they're not. So they must be in a box. Ooh, Trevor canceled Netflix. Okay.
I bet I know why.
Wait, there's Bongo.
They've been in the news this week if you haven't seen it.
Oh, wow. I haven't. See, I don't watch the news.
Yeah, they put out a show called Cuties, and it's basically child porn.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just got you demonetized.
I
yeah.
hope not.
And it's been a hashtag trending cancel Netflix, and it's bad. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I was reading the stories on it. A lot of people have been canceling Netflix over this.
I know nothing about it other than I like watching their video game documentaries. So interesting.
I didn't have that problem because when COVID happened, I went and got Amazon Prime because I wanted to watch Deep Space Nine because I got that Dominion War, and so that's the way I ended up going because they're the ones who had it. So
I've got Prime as well. And they've got, I like their Bosch series, and they've got the Tom Clancy stuff that comes through. But I picked up Disney Plus as soon as The Mandalorian came out, and we've been watching a lot of movies there. But so, what is the most current B-17 mission? I think I'm up to date. Yeah, I'm getting ready to. Man, I need to look. I think I've got to start to editing 9, and there's a cool thing that happens in 9, so I'll get that edited. Here's Bongo Gorilla. I know it's not pronounced Gorilla, brother, but he's the one that sent me target for today. It's still in the shrink because I have to do an unboxing. I got to admit, I'm loving the look of the planes. One of the things I didn't want to do is I like the cards that come onto my original game. And I know B-17 Queen of the Skies so well, I wasn't looking to trade up. I'm even picked up these little scale 1 to 200 miniatures from, what is it? Red something. It's a miniatures game. And I picked up a set of 6 FW-190s, BF-109s, and ME-110s. And a buddy of mine, the painter, is going to paint them because I want to have them coming on instead of the cards. This game uses counters, but you can play with both the 24 or the 17. So there's a lot of stuff there. Any more thoughts about Ambush? Gosh, I love Ambush. We'll come back to it in a second. Here's Bongo again. Just you must have a copy. So thank you again. We'll come back on. Is there any easy way to search for mission number 8? Well, you can just go to bonding for our bonding with. Yeah, go to bonding with board games, and you'll see it there. Or you
go to that and then click on the top where it says, I think it's videos or uploads. It's the second option, and then that will put them chronologically.
And I have them in a playlist. They're under the HAMTAG.
Even easier.
Yeah, I have them in a playlist. All the HAMTAG B-17 sessions are all right in there. And so you can go look at that. They lost 3B and I don't know what that is. Ambush. So I love Ambush. Matter of fact, I'm getting ready to make some moves that'll free up a little bit of my time. So I have a son with some special needs. So several years ago, I'd picked up a townhome with him in mind. And then I became the HOA president of that townhome. And oh my God, did that start to really suck up my time. My son's not in there yet, but I wanted to get it when the market was down. And I ended up talking to my wife saying, you either need to take this over or I'm going to have to sell it because it's taking so much of my time to manage all this stuff. And she said she didn't want to take it over. And so I'm getting ready to sell that. And I believe when I sell that, so here's my long plan. I think I'm going to sell it, or at least try to. And then I would love to get back to me making missions again. And I had a fan that liked them. I was making a series of follow me missions, and I'd outlined a series of Western missions called Bushwhacked. And I'd had just a concept idea for an apocalyptic post-World War III thing as well. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do with those. And then my first son came along, and all my free time went away then. But the printing got so expensive with my follow me missions that it wasn't even worth doing it anymore. It would have cost you as much to buy, not Ambush the game, but there's no way to make it cost effective. It almost cost as much as a game, a small game. But I was like, this is ridiculous. But I had a commenter that said, could you put it into a PDF version? And then you could just sell it and they could print it themselves and they can bling it or they can make it simple. And I thought, you know what? That actually would be a huge time saver for me and allow me to make the missions rather than trying to do all the printing of the ones I got.
Yeah.
But I may need to lean on you, Judd, or my good buddy, my cop partner, who's a computer forensic guy. I've got one of them transferred over to PDF version, but I don't know how to do all that. So there's a learning curve. I don't think it's hard, but I might get with you.
You're a Mac guy, so I don't know how Macs work.
Yeah.
But what I have is word processor. I use Word.
Mm-hmm.
There's an option when you go to print it, instead of send it to your printer, little program that says print it as a PDF. And Windows 10 has it automatically built in. Windows 7, I just had a program that would do it basically, and it prints it as a PDF and kicks it out. That's about. Now the cool thing is I will take stuff like I mentioned this co-op system for Doom. Guy made a scatter chart. If you miss with certain weapons that have bad effects around, like a grenade, each of the cards will have this little scatter chart that shows you where it hits. Well, his cards that he made that you had to buy from Art Cows or make your own or whatever were he didn't have room for the scatter chart, so he made a scatter chart. Well, I just printed it off, and then I went over to FedEx store. I don't know if Kinko's is still around. I was in college, and you can make a basically laminate and make it look fancy. I have done this with so many aids, and I'll give you a couple of tips. Take your bottom of your game box, not the top. Clean out the bottom. Take it with you. If you take the full 8.5 by 11 sheet and laminate it, it's going to be wider on the outside, and it probably won't fit in your box. So what you do is you trim it as much as you can, then get the laminate, and then they got these really fast cuts. You just hold it down and slide it across, and it cuts. Make sure it fits in your box. I've had that problem, and it's really annoying that you have to make a trip back because it won't fit. So always take the bottom of your box and then figure out how to trim as much as you can. Sometimes if you have a double side, you'll have to hold it up in the light to make sure that you're not cutting off on the other side. But I want to say it's around here, it's like $1.50 or $2 for a laminate. So I have some pretty nice play aids I've made this way from other games. People print stuff on BGG all the time, put really cool player aids, and I'll just laminate them, stick them in the box. Laminate, they'll stand up really nice on a little stand I have on the behind my game board, so I can stand it up there without it falling over.
Love that.
So good tips. But yeah, PDFs, way to go.
Good. I think I'm going to try that because then I could just put them up for PDF, and that would allow me to continue with the creative side. Let me pause for a second. I'm getting an echo from you. Go ahead. What'd you want to say?
They had if you're familiar with Federation Commander, which is the updated Starfleet battles, when they made the game, they made counters for like 8 Federation heavy cruisers. That's Captain Kirk's ship, the real captain. Anyway, the game had one ship. What if you know Starfleet battles terminology? System ship display, SSD. Well, then they made these packets of expansions and have like extra Federation ships. But what they do is they'd have there'd be like 10 of these little laminated cards. Are really nice compared to what the old Starfleet battles had. But they'd put 10 in there, but like 2 would be new ships. And they'd throw in like 4 Federation heavy cruisers, 2 destroyers, and a dreadnought. I'm like, why do I want extra copies of ships I already have? I don't want to pay $10 for what amounts to 1 or 2 ships.
Right.
So I wrote Stephen V. Cole, and if you know him, he's very, very old school. I mean, the dude's around in the 70s making games. And I said, why would you do this? I have a scanner. I have a printer. If I want extra copies of the ships, because basically their plan was by the time you bought all these expansions, you'd have one ship display for every counter that came in the box. And I said, that's what photocopiers are for. In the old days, that's what printers are for today. I've got a printer and scanner. I'll do it myself. And he said, yeah, he goes, that's not what our customer base has told us that they like. And I was like, really? I said, why don't you put them out as PDFs? Then your overhead cost is super low. They can download them for a fee, print their own off. And he goes, that's a pretty good idea if they're willing to do it. So he ended up doing that and parked them on Steve Jackson's website. So when you said that, it took me back to then. PDFs are great for people can do their own stuff, laminate and make it as fancy as they want.
That's what a fan told me. He had missed. Let me pause here so we catch up. He had missed buying it when I was paying to have him professionally printed, and he had found me and was emailing me saying, "Please print them again." And then he said, "Can you just print them yourself even?" And I'm like, "Well, I'd give it a shot, but my inkjet printer, and it just wasn't time effective." And then he tried to even get me to contact one of these third party, they'll do the fulfillment and then you get a percentage. And then that way you could do that. And I reached out to one company and they were going to have to work with me over the phone and have me send the dot. And I was just like, I just didn't have the time. That's been my problem, is time. And it was funny because I want to start creating more, not just printing stuff or whatever. And I was like, I really enjoy the creating of the missions. Now it's nice when people want them and you get the feedback, but I really want to get into a Wild West ambush. I want to get into an apocalyptic version. And he was the one that said, why don't you put them into a PDF format that you can send via email or Dropbox or whatever. I don't know. I've got to look into that. And I thought that's not a bad idea, because then there's a creative outlet, there's a financial outlet, and if somebody wants to bling it, they can bling it. If they want to just print it themselves in a easy way, they can do that. So cool. Well, we better wrap it. Great comment. As far as ambush goes too, there's at some point, again, time's a little tight for me right now. There's some Patreon backers that are saying, hey, if you make a different Patreon tier, they would love for me to do with ambush what I'm doing with B-17. So if I created a tier and 8 people came in, or maybe I would be one of the 8, so 7 people came in, they would be my squad, and we would go back and start playing ambush missions, and I would film those as session reports. And I thought that might be cool. Now, I'll tell you, I had a thought the other day. My thoughts aren't as good as Mark Herman's, but my thought was don't
feel bad.
There's an option where I might be able to. It's probably going to take another screen and another camera and a setup so I could have the camera shooting down on the table. But I could see I might have to wait till retirement when I've got a lot of time. It's about 5 years away, but I could see having a live playthrough with all of my people, and then they would be able to play ambush as a co-op event. I don't know. I mean, it just crossed my mind that if I had everybody logged in, it was a private invite chat, StreamYard's working great, you can see everything good, that I might be able to have people come in and actually facilitate a game where everybody's playing an individual, or maybe there's 4 people and everybody's got 2. I don't know. It crossed my mind. It's pretty far out there. I couldn't do it right now, but it definitely was something that sounded like a neat way to combine the old school gaming of ambush with the new school, live feed. So I don't know. What do you think of that? Am I nuts?
Yeah. I always said it'd be cool to make ambush into an app, but the problem is there was an electronic copy, so you won't have to type that entire rule book. I mean, the paragraph books out. No thanks.
For what? Well, yeah. I mean, that would be cool.
If you're going to pull it from a database, it all has to be in the database. So that, I don't know, that might be something cool where if you set up like a Google Docs thing and told people, if you're interested in that, get on here when you got some time, type a few paragraphs in, and have the community populate it, and then say, okay, if it's done, now I can work with it.
You're talking about when I'm playing the regular ambush game?
Yeah. And that would be cool to be able to say, get on your phone and say, I just entered hex 3125, boom, and it knows where you're at and pops it up instead of having to go through the decoder ring.
Well, I agree with that. We talked about doing that with my own missions, that a phone app would be better than the cartridge slider, although I've got my own. I figured out how to do that. I had to measure everything out. And then I had my buddy actually knew Excel, was like, yeah, you just move it and tweak it, move it and tweak it until they all fit. And I was like, yeah, it worked perfectly, but it is old school.
Yeah. Oh, real quick here, I forgot to mention earlier, my Ameritrash mentor, Aaron, he does not do YouTube, and we never put the video out so he could comment. He told me what his top 5 were.
Okay, read his, man. Read them.
Okay, number 5, Star Wars Rebellion. 4, Eldritch Horror. 3, Mansions of Madness. 2, Arkham Horror, which is amazing that he had a 2 because he plays every year all expansions. And number 1, War of the Ring.
Now, if he doesn't do YouTube, how does he even know that you read it?
He doesn't, but I'll tell him.
What if you lied?
I could. I get on a claim. He said he loves Bill Belichick. He might actually go watch it just to correct me.
There you go. All right. We
He
better
doesn't love Bill Belichick, just so nobody takes it out of context.
got it. All right. We will shut this down since we're coming up on an hour 20, but that was a great discussion. I like when we go all crazy.
Okay, remember next week, in case anybody gets late, we're off next week. We're coming back
off,
2 weeks from
off next
Columbia.
week. We will take a break, and you'll update that on BGG as well?
Yep.
All right,
Yep.
cool. Thanks, everybody. Judd, hang on here. I'm going to shut this down. Appreciate everybody coming on. We still got tons of eyeballs. So see you guys later, or gals. Bye-bye.